you're ready to fill in all the Parker items.
Welcome to the Franklin Capital Investment Committee meeting for Wednesday, February 26, 2014. The first item on our agenda will be to approve the minutes for January 9th, 2014.
I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have proper motion to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next, motion passed. Let's move on to the next item. Item 2, consideration of change order number 1, final change order to the construction contract, City of Franklin contract 2012-0075 for Public Works Facility Access Road Project. And then there's another contract number for the same thing. Okay. And I guess Paul Holson, our Director of Engineering, is going to.
Yeah, if you remember back in November 2012, the board approved a contract with McMillan Construction in the amount of $785,276.42. We completed the project substantially in August of 2013 with the landscaping that followed in December of 2013. William Banks, our project manager, his goal at the beginning of this project was to deliver that project prior to the Public Works facility being open. I'm proud that he was able to do that and get it done, and for a decrease of $19,859.39.
That's always good news when we come in under budget.
right.
These are our
Very
favorite
good.
kind of change orders.
Yes,
More of those?
very good. Okay, do we have a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, motion passes. Next item, number 3, consideration of professional service agreement, City of Franklin 2014-0044 with Hazen and Sawyer for the Spencer Creek at Franklin Road Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project. Again, Mr. Holzen.
If you'll remember a few months back, this board approved a professional services agreement with Hazen Sawyer for the South Prong Sanitary Sewer Design and Upgrade Project, which was really associated with the increased density at the McEwen-Carruthers corridor. And as we talked about previously, at about 50% build out, we're going to need to look at trying to upsize that line at a cost of around $3 million. As part of that scope of services, we had asked Hazen and Sawyer to do some TV and testing of a line that's between Spencer Creek and Franklin Road. During that time period, they found a section that was very deteriorated and blocked to some degree, and it's not an emergency to go out there and make an immediate repair. However, it is something that we need to pay attention to and try to get it corrected very shortly. So this agreement allows that design to take place so that we can go in there and rehabilitate a small section of pipe that goes under the CSX railroad tracks in Franklin Road, and the cost of the design is around $40,000. And I'll take any questions that you may have.
Okay.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we got a proper motion and a second discussion.
The
Ms. Peterson.
question that I had was, I was surprised to see this being paid out of the sewer access fund. Because it sounds like that's for new, yeah, well, it probably is. But because that's generally for new.
We can revisit that. To be honest with you, I got the funding from Mark through his budget. He's unfortunately not here today.
He's at a
but
conference.
We can revisit that prior to going to the board.
I
just
think it's because
wondered.
they're thinking of it as in terms of new capacity into the system, but
Mhm.
we can look at that,
Yeah.
sure.
This definitely shows that it's good to have things inspected
Mm-hmm.
and looked at, because this could, it's not going to get any better without
Right.
some work on it, so it's good to
Mhm.
find out.
Any more discussion? Okay, seeing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the fourth item tonight, this afternoon, is consideration of professional service agreement, City of Franklin 2014-0045 with CDM Smith for the sanitary sewer system model assistance and Capacity Assurance Tool Program Project.
Well-
Again, Mr. Holzen.
Over the years, we've managed our sanitary sewer availability through basin studies and very periodic flow monitoring. What one of my goals is to work with David, Mark, and our engineering team to come up with a better capacity management program here at the city. And at this point, we're recommending moving forward with creating a tool that helps us to better manage and track those capacity issues long-term. In addition, that'll help us to prioritize capital projects and do better planning as to when sanitary sewer needs to be upgraded. And you know, over the history of Franklin, it's been a lot of greenfield development, and that trend's one day going to occur where it starts becoming infill development, where it's more dense. And having a tool in place such as this will help us to be able to track that better long-term. The amount is around $182,000 for tasks 1 through 5, which is essentially allows us to collect all of the data of the as-built drawings, put it together, do some additional survey, develop the tool, and then also to develop a guide for how we actually utilize that tool in a flow monitoring program. What we would be looking at is within about, that process will take about a year. So in a year, we'd be looking at doing additional flow monitoring and calibration of that tool as part of phase 2 of this project. So at this point, we're recommending to go forward with tasks 1 through 5, and we'll be looking at in the future coming back and asking for additional funding to calibrate and implement that tool in approximately a 2-year period.
Okay.
Talk quickly about why CDM Smith is the choice, the
It
logical
says
choice
there's a
here.
previous project
Yeah,
that they've done already.
I thought that was important just to recognize some efficiency in that they've already done work that helps them move this along much more efficiently.
And they've already established a model for the plants that needed to be done as part of the integrated water resource plan and the upgrades to the plants. So they have a lot of this information, so there's a pretty large cost savings with utilizing them. In addition, they've actually done this already in 2 cities in Tennessee. KUB and Kingsport have already moved forward with implementing this capacity assurance tool. So we're really reutilizing the work that has already been done with those 2 utility districts. So there's a very large cost savings with contracting with
So
CDM Smith.
this allows us to plug in changes upstream of a sewer and predict how that's going to affect.
Within seconds, you can plug it in and it will analyze all the way down to the
It'll
plant.
analyze what we've already got
capacity.
and how it fits into that, from what I understand.
The way we do it now is we look at flow monitors that could date back to 2010, 2006, and we try to add up the capacity of availabilities that we have, and it takes up a lot of time to be able to ensure that, you know, we're not overcommitting ourselves on capacity to our infrastructure. So this tool helps us to track that better, and it does the calculation from the point of tap all the way down to the plant. So it's a great tool that we're looking forward to have one day.
You said you were going to create the tool. That's where you lost me. Isn't that something we purchased?
Well, it's already created, but they're going to customize it to meet our needs.
Okay, thank you, because I was
Yeah,
like,
sorry.
wow, we got some talented folks who have their own tools. And
Sorry.
then we're going to
They're going
trademark it, and then we'll make some money on your invention.
to
That'd be great.
customize it.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you for asking.
The only other thing is, though, that the big money comes from task 6 and 7. That's the $280-something thousand.
The majority of your cost is associated with flow monitoring. We'll have to pay a third-party vendor to go out, set flow monitors, calibrate the flow monitors, and then periodically check them. And I believe that's task number 6.
6 and 7, yeah.
Yeah,
No, wait. Yeah,
at a cost of
yep. The
around
biggie was the,
$237,000,
That's right.
which is actually in line with, we may have to bid that portion out, but that's in line with when we did the flow monitoring in 2010. It was bid out at about that cost.
I wish we could do that. That was, if we had somebody that just could do that,
Well,
that'd be
and
worth a lot.
as part of this project, we're going to establish a flow monitoring program where we're going to start putting in permanent flow monitors
Yeah.
so that we can pull this information at any
Yeah,
given time. and have it
ourselves.
ourselves.
That's,
Yeah, we need
that
that.
might be
Do
the more
ourselves.
Is that
important thing to do.
182,000 out of the sewer fund, is that been budgeted for this particular year?
Market indicated yes, that it would come out of their sewer operations fund.
But really stop and think that this fiscal year's almost over.
I know, that's
You
what I
know,
want to know.
It's not gonna
So-
get
Is
spent.
it
Yeah.
enough money, do we have money left in them? Is that doable? for our
Mark's
fund?
got some, we've got
Obviously,
some in
he
water
probably would've
management
said
that we're able
something
to
if-
shift around to make this work.
That's right. And that's why we broke it out into 2 phases too, because we knew he didn't have the money sitting there to do the entire thing for the 400-some thousand that we'd break it out over 2, and plus it's going to take us
Oh,
2
yeah,
years.
2 years, okay.
Okay.
So,
So
but
say,
are you,
yeah.
are you saying then, though, that if we put the permanent monitors in, then we could check it ourselves?
We would have 2 options. One would be to maintain and check them ourselves, or the other option would be to pay somebody to come in and do that. It's a lot of calculation and work to put all that data together. So as part of this, we're going to evaluate the different options on how to go about doing that. But we'll have the flow monitors will be ours, maintained by us, installed by us, which still be a big cost savings. Because right now, we'd have to rent the flow monitors for a given period of time, plus pay somebody to come in and calibrate all of them.
But probably once they get those, they would just plug them into a spreadsheet.
Yes, basically. But we'll at that point own,
Plug in numbers.
as we start
Yeah.
putting these in, we'll start owning them and operating them ourselves. It's just a matter of the data.
Something to think about.
You'd have to dedicate a full-time staff member to doing nothing but tracking this data, and it may be more beneficial long-term to allow a third party to come in and do it on occasion, once a year
I gotta tell
maybe.
you, for $287,000, or, no, I'm sorry, $237,000, is that, see, it says the monitoring there, is that? That would be,
How's that different than the
So are you-
ongoing work?
Are you
Is that
talking,
the task 6?
do you
Task
see what I
six.
mean?
why would we be scheduling that?
Well, we're not scheduling it right now.
As
but-
far as ongoing work, we don't have any flow monitoring going on right now. It was done in 2010 where it was
Yeah.
bid out.
Yeah.
I think where Alderman Peterson's going is that the kind of thing that we could have a staff person dedicated to do? And
Because we could
that
pay
goes-
somebody a lot.
That offsets a 237 cost, or is that the setup to be able to do that?
That,
I'd take that job.
like I
Yeah,
said,
I would
task
too.
one is to develop and investigate
Mhm.
the flow monitoring program that we're going to develop. So at this point, we need to do some research and look at the different scenarios of how we move forward. And task one is essentially to set that up for us, to evaluate different options, whether we do it in-house, internally with staff, or whether we have it consulted out. So at this point, we don't have a determination on that.
So that could
Okay.
affect the magnitude of tasks 6 and 7, depending on what we can do?
What we're proposing with this as of now with Phase 2, which could change, is that it would be totally consulted out at the $237,000, which is how we did it in 2010. However, once we develop that task one and move forward with it, if we decide to go a different direction with that, we can just change that portion of this contract, because we're not funding that at this point, task 6 and 7.
Right. But it's something for us to think about, though, because if they're doing these things for us, they don't still just own the, I mean, say software, that's really not what it is.
Mhm.
But I mean, if we're paying them as consultant, it sounds like we would get not just the readings, but we would get the product, which is what they've done to get the readings. And,
The product we're renting, the flow meters, as part of,
Yeah.
as the way it's spelled out here is you're renting those flow meters.
That's just, it's just because right now, we're
Something for
doing
us to look
what
at.
we need to
Is
do.
that
But really,
right?
it is something to look at, because that is a lot of money, and I'm assuming it wouldn't just be something that you would do once every, what do you say, in 4 years? You know, the way we have,
would you do?
since the last time we've done it.
Yeah.
It might be something,
Is that-
that's something else to think about.
Is that typical, too?
Yeah, that's right.
To rent?
To rent, yes. Yeah, most cities our
Well, if you only
size,
do
Why would that?
occasionally rent
Because
them.
it's too expensive to purchase?
cities our size just don't have a need to have permanent flow monitoring stations in full-time. They typically just do it periodically,
Yeah.
every 4
Right,
years.
we
But
usually have
with
it.
our growth, it's beneficial to have them in full-time and
That's something to
continuously
think
looking
about,
at the
yeah,
data.
something to think about. But right now, this is fine.
Okay.
Did we get it?
All right, do we have a motion?
I read them.
I think it
In order
was
to
1 and
discuss.
2.
We have to have a motion before we have a discussion. We already did that. All in favor?
Did we make a motion? I didn't think we did
Well, then we shouldn't have a discussion.
Maybe we might have jumped into a staff
jumped into
presentation about it, yeah.
Oh, you
Okay.
know, because that's
Didn't I-
right.
Didn't I?
No,
Motion?
because
No, you
you
didn't.
you
I don't think
first
so.
said something
Move for
to
approval.
Paul, second.
Okay, we have a move for approval.
Ann said
I'm just
second.
piggybacking
Scanlon
off
second.
of item 3.
And do we have any more discussion?
We're in violation of Robert's rules.
Any more discussion?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, motion passes. Item 5, consideration of amendment number 2 to the professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2012-0052 with Gresham Smith and Partners for the 7th Avenue Fair Street intersection to 5th Avenue North sanitary sewer improvements. Mr. Olson.
This project's actually already complete. It was the sewer project that we did just west of, at the McDonald's at 96 and 5th Avenue. During construction, we were bursting a line under 96. It had a sag in the line, and so we had to make some spot repairs, and we had to change some things up in the field during construction. And Gresham Smith and Partners came out to help us coordinate that to make sure that the repairs were done properly, and they had to end up going out of the side of their scope to do some work. For $4,500, we're recommending approval of this because they did have to do some additional work to supplement our staff, inspection staff during construction.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have proper motion and second. Any discussion? Something broke and it took more time.
That's right.
Yeah.
We needed more help.
Okay, if there's no discussion, then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passes. Item number 6, consideration of professional services agreement, City of Franklin 2014-0048 with Smith, Seckman, and Reed for the Southwest Basins number 2 and number 3 sewer study.
So if you'll remember, recently, we just got done updating a lot of our sanitary sewer basin studies. The areas that have not been completed to date are outside of the city limits, but inside the urban growth boundary, which is Southwest Basin 1, 2, and 3. At this point, we're receiving a lot of requests for availability outside of the city limits. The one thing that's preventing us from really moving forward with annexation of a lot of these projects is the annexation laws that have recently been passed. We feel it's important to get a generic high-level plan in place to be able to know how we're going to serve this so that when development does pick up outside of the city limits, that we're prepared to answer the questions when they come in the door of how are we going to long-term provide sanitary sewer. The other reason this is important is because these two basins discharge into Stream Valley, Berry Farms, and we need to make sure that we're sizing those lines appropriately to handle the flow from Southwest Basin number 2 and 3. So this professional services agreement with Smith, Beck, and Reed is to complete those basin studies, to give us that tool to make sure that with those developments, we're putting in the proper infrastructure to serve these basins long-term. And the only remaining one is Southwest Basin number 1, and we don't have concerns at this time to move forward with updating that basin study. We feel that 2 and 3 is what's necessary right now.
And this would
Okay.
be then out of the sewer budget. We weren't real clear on
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, that's right. It's out of the sewer budget.
And the professional services area within that sewer budget, and we've got some capacity for this type of work that's in that, already included in that budget.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Some
Okay, we have a
questions.
motion second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I do. First of all, my first real question was, where would there be any development? I mean, that really, except for just a few minor places, this is very, very, very far away from our city limits. I mean, and what it has to cross to get there are a lot of already built subdivisions out in the county. They're not sewered. They're 1 acre plus lots. I mean, to get to the SW3, you would have to go, really, really across. I mean, there's Green Valley, there's Oakwood, and I think Oak Leaf is another one there, that way. And whenever you look at Southwest 2, I know that Keystone is already there. Now, I do not know whether that, I know it doesn't get sewer from us. I don't know whether those are 1 acre lots. I am positive all those others are 1 acre plus lots that are in between our city limits and getting to SW3.
Yeah, I don't anticipate seeing development out here. I think the
That's
point is
right.
more about having the plan in place for long-term, but also the Goose Creek Basin, which is shown in blue, the infrastructure is actively going in there with Stream Valley, Berry Farms, and there may be more that comes our way, and we're going to have to pump these basins into those. So we need to make sure that we're appropriately sizing our lines there to accommodate these two basins. If you look back at the Goose Creek Basin, that the study that's been to date, it did not include flow from these two basins. So we want to make sure that it's planned for our urban growth boundary. And that was the main reason for going forward with these two. And we've done some preliminary stuff in-house to try to accommodate for that, but we feel it's important to finalize that to make sure that we're doing this adequately.
Right, right.
And not having to come back and upsize lines.
Okay, but okay, well, I guess maybe not for this question today, but how much have we projected of all those things that are already built out would come in and be sewered by the city? I
Well,
think
that's what this
in the
study will
Goose-
help us
No,
find.
in Goose Creek.
In the
I'm talking about
existing
in
Goose Creek, the
In
ones
the,
that
no,
are-
in the Goose Creek basin,
That basin area,
in that basin area. I
which
mean,
includes a lot of UGB,
it really
as well.
does,
It
and
does.
as I say,
that
especially-
western half is, yeah.
that western half of it, I don't foresee, I mean, unlike, say, up there, up Hillsborough Road, where they have failing sewer, they do not have failing sewer down here at all.
Septic, yeah.
The soil is so much different there from the soil up in, where they.
Meadow Green and
In Meadow
that
Green
area,
and
yeah.
things like
Mhm.
that. That's exactly right. This is, I mean, and these are long time, Ellington Park probably before 1970, and all the rest of them are kind of about that time. So whenever they've been there that long and they don't have, I know I've heard some people say that they have problems because they would want to add more, add to their house.
Mhm.
And so
Oh, yeah.
that, for that reason, they would need to expand it. That's the only time I've heard of a problem with septic out here. And so I really would be interested to see how much we have projected from those already built
What kinda
subdivisions.
would
You
be
know,
coming
and
on.
as I
Yeah.
say, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this, but I'm telling you, you have to go across them to go down to SW3. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't see us going, in fact, I'm not sure whether there'd be a road to go out to that, from that part that's, the part that's directly east of SW3. I can't imagine how, what your road infrastructure would have to be there to get to some of that.
So how critical is this that we do this?
Well, you have active construction going on in Stream Valley and Goose Creek.
Sure.
And
Sure,
we're in
but
the-
Spring Valley right in here.
It's
It's
kind of,
over here, isn't it?
it's over in
Well,
there.
I'm trying to get
Where
the
that
plan.
blip is.
That's-
No, Spring Valley's on this.
That kind of
Very tall.
purplish
Stream
line
Valley.
is our
Little narrow
existing city,
Yeah,
thing.
that's right.
Right
That-
there.
That's it.
City limits.
That's it,
So
exactly.
they're right in here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
where it
yeah.
goes
the
like
end of that, yeah.
a square, like.
Mhm.
So these basins
Yeah.
will be
Triangle.
pumped up over the
Over.
hill and into places like Stream Valley, which will go into Berry Farm. So
Oh, are you saying that would be for SW3, would be
go to
pumped to go into here?
2 and 3 would pump into that basin. That's why we're trying to look at it now, because it
But now, whenever
affects.
we're saying that's pumped into it, it's not draining into it.
but it'll be pumped into a gravity sewer system
yeah,
that's
right,
being
right,
installed
right.
now.
Because there's
So-
high ground
Right.
between this area
That's right.
and where that
Yeah,
main sewer
yeah,
line
yeah.
is.
And
Right.
and ideally, when we did the Goose Creek Basin update, we would have done the projections with that, but for some reason it was not done when that
Well,
was
because
updated
it's-
in 2005 or 6-ish timeframe.
It's so far beyond anything that we could foresee.
But that's what we utilize right now when a developer walks in to say, yes, you can develop and your line size should be about this. And we then go through the exercise of checking the engineering associated with that to ensure that the proper infrastructure is going. Otherwise, you look at having to go through subdivisions and burst and upsize lines and tear up existing residential streets or parallel, find alternate routes to parallel.
I was trying to look to see where, I couldn't really tell where the gravity sewer was there, except right there at Stream Valley. I couldn't tell where,
Stream
Where-
Valley is about the farthest south that you.
Then it
Yeah.
runs back
yeah,
south.
okay, right here,
Very
right,
far.
right.
Mayor.
But it's just right along the creek, isn't it? The 5 Mile Creek?
I
Or where
believe it
that
is.
is?
Mhm.
Mayor would like to make a
Oh, yeah,
comment.
sure.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment if I could, and I think one thing that triggered my comment is what Paul said initially, that he was seeing people interest in providing sewer service and potential annexation, and that's being held off right now because of the moratorium on annexation. And, you know, as mayor and alderman, we probably are not privy to a lot of those things and preliminary requests that are going on. And what I'm asking is that maybe you start keeping a list somewhere of where
Yeah,
this
yeah.
potential annexation is being explored, and the unintended consequence of the legislative body's action is causing us problems. I guarantee you, most of our legislators would not really understand what we're talking about when we're talking about a sewer basin, because most of them don't have experience with local government.
Good point.
So I think it's important that we start tabulating some of the unintended consequences of the moratorium on annexation, and also the other predicaments they're going to put us in with whatever bill ends up out of the General Assembly. So that's my comment.
We actually
Good idea.
have created that list already, so I can provide it to Mr. Stuckey for the weekly update so that the alderman can see who's been asking about.
Yeah, I
Well,
would
I'm
like
gonna
to
ask
see
you a
that.
question. Who's been asking out here? Who's been asking out in that, say, west of the interstate? Period.
We've had 2 in Southwest 3 Basin that have asked about annexation and possibility of developing and increasing density based on our land use plan.
Okay.
Some
Well,
large properties.
How are we going to connect to them? Because it looks like we're going to have to cut across some land that people haven't been asked to be
right.
annexed to get to them.
We've done it
And they-
before.
No. What I'm saying is, it has to be contiguous, though.
Yeah.
It's got to come from somewhere.
Right now,
It's-
Right
that
now,
kind of
it will.
situation would fall under the moratorium.
Right.
And that's the example the mayor's talking about is, would that create a barrier to a project that might be beneficial? We can't comment about specific project,
no,
but
no.
that's that kind of example of where we're, it's a barrier to development opportunities.
Yeah, 'cause you
But
don't
but
have
what I'm
that.
saying.
But yeah, there would be significant
Yeah, it would have to go.
extension of
it would have-
service.
Well, no, I don't mean extension of
Yeah.
sewer. You would have to go across land where they weren't asking. If they're asking in SW3, you're going to have to annex a whole bunch of property unless you go along a road. There's not a road that I can see, because all I know about is Goose Creek bypass there.
But I see this as
I mean, I don't have
maybe
anything
not in
against
the
doing
next few
this,
years
but-
that this will come
No,
up,
but-
but it certainly could come up depending on how the situation goes with the state because this is in our urban growth boundary. And if somehow that all gets abandoned,
You know,
um,
it's really interesting. I didn't see a little thing that could tell me how far away this was. You know, how far away our,
A legend.
yeah, a little legend,
Yeah.
that's right. That would be really interesting to see.
But it does highlight too that whenever this is all settled and they walk in the door, we, the staff, need to have a plan ready to go to tell them. They want answers the next day as to what they need to do to facilitate. They don't want to wait a month or 2 months for us to get a plan together to help facilitate
Well,
it.
let me say this. I think if any of those people out want to annex out to SW3, they need to extend the sewer themselves, just the way we made West Haven do it.
No, we're not
Not-
saying we wouldn't.
No, that's what I'm
Yeah,
just saying
yeah,
right now.
okay.
That's my feeling
Yeah.
about it. If it's out,
Yep.
they need to extend it, and then they can get recovery whenever some other people come on. But I'm just saying that's the way I feel about this. It's not like they're right, you know, the Ingram property really is right next to our, I mean, that's just the one I was thinking about from last night. It's just right next to the city, the current city limits, as
Right.
opposed to something that's this far
This is
away from the
extended.
current city limits. And the only one that I saw that was even close was down there on, really on, off of Columbia Avenue, and that's a whole bunch of undeveloped stuff between them and everything. But as I say, but they're also, the problem that I see with this is that there's so much there that we would, that we would be surrounding or something that isn't inside the city limits. And they, unlike, as we were talking about, Meadowgreen, who is not in our urban growth boundary, but who needed the sewer, so there's no opportunity to say we would take them if they would come in,
But we have extended sewer through things that were not annexed, through Red Wing and Ellington and those properties, to put in 5 Mile Creek. We didn't necessarily annex any of that. We just put sewer through there.
We also didn't allow them to tie, the majority of them to tie into that sewer.
Right, just the ones that it compromised their systems. And this would tell us how this would be accomplished, instead of us telling people that we don't know. And that way, they could project as part of their expenses on how long it would be and where it would have to go to, if someone wanted to put the sewer,
Yeah. And as I
Sewer
say,
connection.
I would be I'd like to get some information about how much we have projected,
Projected growth.
how much sewer growth is projected on those already developed subdivisions that are not inside the city limits.
Oh, for the growth of them?
No, not for the growth of them, but just,
on the integrated plan, on how they calculated.
yeah, how they calculated that, because we're saying they've already calculated for Goose Creek, the Goose Creek Basin.
We can look at it.
That'd be just something that'd be of interest.
We can get that for you.
Okay, so we have, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passes. All right, that gets us to street project status.
I'll highlight a couple of, well, only a couple, but I'll highlight a few projects here, and of course, take any questions you may have. Macatcher, if you've been out there recently, it's really starting to take shape. We're starting to see the mast arms come up, and it's starting to look like closer to a finished road now. Hillsborough Road's doing the same thing. Hillsborough Road's starting to look really good, and you really start to see the finished product.
The Metcatcher, are we on schedule for that?
No, this is the
Pretty
right-
much?
this is
My
the
understanding is, yeah, we're still pretty much
yeah.
on schedule
Yeah,
for early
that's
summer.
the part that we've done.
For substantial
Yeah, that's
completion.
what I'm asking. Are we
Yes.
Yeah.
pretty well
Yes.
going to be on?
There may
time?
be
They're
some
gonna-
things
they're
like
gonna be on time?
landscaping that goes past substantial completion, but
So,
to get the road open, yes.
Yes.
So
Which
mid-May
is
or
Yeah.
later?
May or
Mid-
June? or-
I would say
It says
May,
May
possibly
15th.
June.
Okay.
I'd say
We-
June.
Some of us are really looking
They're
forward to
pushing
that.
for mid-May. TDOT is pushing
Yeah,
for
they're
mid-May.
pushing.
We
Yeah.
sit in their weekly meetings, and they are adamant
They-
about mid-May.
Good.
They are out there
June.
in some cold weather working, I've seen them.
So June. Okay.
Let's see.
Before you go past Hillsborough Road.
Sure.
We can't change it because the brick's already been laid, but I was driving down Hillsborough Road the other day where Franklin Laundry and Cleaners used to be, and right there, it is amazing. There's no way you can even park a car in
Yeah,
front of that
yeah.
business and the one before it.
Yeah.
I think it's a U-Haul business. And
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out where the road was gonna actually come, because if there, you could maybe park a car on either side of the brick, but, I mean, it just begs the question, if we can't change the use because of the floodplain and, I mean, we've almost made, I don't say we, but it concerns me what they can
I
use
agree.
that for.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I just don't know where we are with all that. And it brings, I know we were doing a study and all that, it's just,
That kind of impact on
Just don't
parking is factored into what we
Give you.
offer for acquiring
right.
the property.
Right.
So I don't know that specifically. how that was factored
But
in there,
but
but that
still,
is the
I
kind of
know.
thing we look at and is part of the compensation that goes into the
It's-
requirement.
But it's
part of the
almost gonna
damages
kinda
package.
shut them out, though, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I think.
Unless I'm working it out, but yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, you know, so.
Yeah, it's tight.
Carruthers Parkway, if you haven't been by the area or driven down the interstate, you can really see Carruthers Parkway starting to.
Can we get a badge so we can drive it? 'Cause we're all-
Anytime you want to come out of the
I just
engineering
did it the
department, we'll
other
take
day.
you all out.
Dump truck came running through like.
Yeah.
Oh, that
I
would
used
be
to
neat.
drive down McEwen like that. And the guys got to know me after a while.
Hey,
Just let us know, we'll be glad to take you for a tour of it.
okay,
We-
you
we-
don't
we'd
know
love
what you're
to.
doing whenever you.
Hey, we'd love to have you out there.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you come out there, it's
Any
impressive.
project, Any
I
construction
want
project.
I want one of those magnetic things you can slap on the side of the car that says City of Franklin.
I have those for my personal truck, yeah, I have those. So-
Well, the aldermen of those wards need to have them,
Yeah.
because we're always out there
Somebody.
checking on stuff on our ward, you know? It's like, okay, after 2 times, they go, okay, we know who you are now.
$30 online. Let's see. A few of these are going to start coming off, I believe. Carlisle Lane is pretty much done out there. We're just
Eastern
waiting
Flank
for,
finally did, that's.
Eastern Flank came off. Carlisle
Oh, the
Lane's
signs
done.
look
Brady's
good.
been looking for.
The,
Okay, so where are we?
The brass signs
Carlisle
look
Lane?
good.
Carlisle Lane,
That's done, right?
it's complete. We're still working on a few final punch list items.
Sitting
And
at the traffic light up there.
What about Third Avenue North? I saw that my cut-through street's closed, I was so sad.
Third Avenue North is, I talked to the project manager today, and he actually had a status meeting yesterday. We're looking at probably about April to get that open and complete. So you'll see a change order forthcoming for
And
time
what are you doing on
extension.
Margin where it's closed from Hillsborough Road? Is that just kind of a,
Right now, a lot of what I've seen in the area before they actually close it, they're doing a lot of utility cuts
what I
across
was
the street.
wondering. okay.
They're doing brick crosswalks there as well.
Yeah.
When's our whole date for completing that?
You just said
At-
April.
At the whole date? The-
Third Avenue.
Third
Third
Avenue.
Avenue would be roughly mid-April.
Third
And then
Avenue.
Hillsborough Road, we're still looking at about June for Hillsborough Road.
Oh, really? That's not bad.
At least it's not another 2015 or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Well,
April.
I'm gonna go into the next phase.
We'll bid
It's gonna
June,
be-
July timeframe, or what do we think?
Probably will not bid June, July. We are working through
Phase 2.
TDOT and FHWA right-of-way process, so they've come back on us and asked some new things.
We had some holdups with the right-of-way acquisition process as it relates to TDOT approvals, but we have approval to move forward with right-of-way. We have our appraisals, and as soon as we get word back from TDOT, we're gonna start active negotiations.
For the
And our
right-of-way.
goal has always been to try to bid it out as soon as phase
quickly
one
as
is
we can,
completed.
yeah.
But given the issues we're facing with paperwork trying to get approval, there may be a slight gap there.
There's been some switchover, in short, there's been some switchover in personnel in the FHWA office, so they're kind of going by the book right now while they get used to the process themselves, so.
Well, how cumbersome is the right-of-way acquisition for that?
The process itself is not
I mean,
bad.
for that particular one. I'm not talking about the process, what we have to deal with there. Is there, do you
It's all
see?
residential.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all residential.
But are we gonna take a hybrid
Okay,
approach
here's
there
the
so
deal.
that maybe somebody who has more frontage doesn't, you know what I mean? Like sometimes on the left, they're a little bit closer. I say
Well, that's
left,
in the
y'all say
design.
south. Sometimes on the right, the Franklin High School side of the street, what would that
It's
be?
tough.
What, that would be
East,
east.
west, I don't
To
know.
the east.
It's
They have a
east.
little bit more road frontage than, say, the left side. So could we take a hybrid approach so that some people don't get totally lose their,
Well,
Equal.
in the
from
design.
center
At this
I mean, how's
point,
that work?
well, at this point, it's already designed.
Yeah.
We'd have to go
It's
back through and
already
redo design at this point.
But that
Okay.
is something we look at to try to take a.
I just didn't know how that worked.
when you
Yeah.
do the
Balance.
design, you always look
Balance
at
it.
that.
Yes.
But the thing is, okay, on the design, then, well, we're waiting to do this right-of-way acquisition. We have mostly residential, or all residential.
Except
But does it
Franklin High
include the
School.
schools?
Franklin
Do
High
we-
School. Except
Yeah,
Franklin
so,
High.
so what are you giving for that, as far as time? I don't know, I haven't read it, but, a year to obtain it? I mean, here's the deal. We can go to a certain point in that acquisition of right-of-way and start the project, correct? If we have to wait on people?
Actually, we cannot. We must have right-of-way complete and certified before we'll get notice to proceed into the construction
Even if we have to
phase.
go to court?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Because I thought we were able to do that.
We've done that on city
State
projects.
Yeah, this is, remember,
Oh,
we
this
broke
way.
this
Yeah,
into
yeah,
two
yeah, yeah,
phases.
yeah, that's right.
Phase one was
Oh.
a city project, so
Yeah.
we have a little more latitude in
Yeah.
doing that. Phase 2 has federal and state dollars in,
That's
so we've got to
right.
be more
So-
station to station
Okay,
on the project.
So, do we know how many properties we have in that?
I do not off the top
Okay.
of my
I think
head.
it's about 19.
19. So we have to get the right-of-way for 19, and we have to have it signed, sealed, and delivered before we can even go ahead
That is
and
correct.
bid it out.
That is correct.
TDOT has to go through every acquisition, look at every appraisal, look at
Okay,
every
people out there in TV land,
negotiation.
if you're on Hillsborough Road, you want this project,
And
We're moving
God.
fast.
And
We're
I will
moving as
say
fast as
TDOT
we
has made it
can.
very clear that FHWA has made it clear to them that if we do not follow any of those processes and to a T, that they have been pulling funding
well,
from other
I hope
government
you
agencies.
all will be very careful.
Yes.
We
Well,
will certainly-
they're only giving,
You know,
what,
back
$1 million
ago,
something.
When they first thought
Have
about
bad
it, I
checks.
can remember,
Checks
because I
and
lived on
balances.
that side of town, the markers in people's yards. So
Yeah.
for people who
Yeah.
lived there for a long time,
Yeah.
they got a pass about, what,
It shrunk.
20 years ago?
Yeah, it did.
And now it's, yeah,
Well,
it's kind of bad.
y'all make sure that you
So-
have checks and balances on that.
We will.
We do.
Real
So
careful.
that, there's some unknown there in terms of how that's going to work.
There's a lot of
Right now,
unknown
we've
right
said
now.
Yeah.
We
September
won't
in the
know.
memo. Is that,
I will probably, well, I think very
We
likely
still
will be
think
pushed
that
out
is-
now. I think it'll be pushed out.
It'll be
some.
pushed out.
To
We'll look
what?
at trying to
For that
update
date,
that.
you're talking about that date for starting the right-of-way?
No, for completion of right away. We're probably looking
Oh.
closer
to be able to bid,
Yeah. to be
Oh,
able to-
notice to proceed?
of this year?
Yes.
Well, that's
That
aggressive.
That would be best case scenario.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's aggressive. I would think that, yeah, that would be wonderful.
Well, if you remember Eastern Flying Battlefield, where we received the enhancement grant, we delivered that project faster than any other city that received that grant through the local
Oh, yeah,
programs
that was great.
process. So we have a lot of experience in dealing with them, but there's also a lot of unknowns in
Mm-hmm.
trying to get those type of approvals through TDOT and
Especially if you're
FHWA.
working with new personnel at the state side.
How's the McEwen-Wilson intersection
Oh,
coming?
I want to say one more
Oh,
thing before we leave that.
Okay.
Please keep in mind that the part that we have done already on Hillsborough Road did basically have some side streets that, some alternate routes. There is no alternate route
For the other one.
from to where we're going now all the way to Matt Catcher. There's nothing. No, really, well, you,
I
Go
know.
another
no, you can, wait, you can do,
Hillsborough.
no, you can do some going through Rebel Meadows, but not all the way to the end of it.
Well, because it doesn't line up with Mount
That's
Catcher.
right, exactly. That's what I'm
But-
saying. Those are the
key
those are
is-
the
Come out of
only
other
things.
places.
There's also Chestnut Bend and,
No, but what I'm saying though is,
Yeah.
no, but what I'm saying is though, you
Don't ride with
cannot,
me,
you
I'll get
cannot
the
go
rest.
all the way. That's
I
my
She
point
goes
is you
through
can't go all the way because of the river.
No, Brandy, you can't go through the yards.
Okay, anything else
Okay,
on
thank you.
road projects?
Oh, yeah, the McEwen-Wilson Pike, what's the update on that?
I have not been out there in about a week myself, but I have a status meeting tomorrow.
I
It is
just
my-
go and sit in traffic out there all the time, so I'm like.
It is my understanding, and actually, when I was out there last week, they had already completely graded Wilson Pike. Wilson Pike is pretty much grading, heavy operations is done. They just got to get the paving equipment out there. We've been waiting on the paving plants to open back up. They're hoping to be out there this coming
Yeah.
week to pave. Once they get Wilson Pike paved, it allows them to move traffic over to the eastern side of Wilson Pike and start working on those bridge abutments. Once we can move that traffic over, that's really the critical thing right now. Once we move traffic over, you're going to start seeing quite a bit of activity
Yeah.
out there.
Well, we've got March, April, May, and then school will be out.
Right.
So maybe everybody can gear up to really finish. What's the finish date on
The
that?
finish date right now is July of this year.
Yeah.
And I have not heard anything from the contractor that would say otherwise, so.
Well,
So
my
hopefully we'll
big-
have that one
That'd be
open
good.
completely before school gets back
Before
open.
schools. That's the key to me, right there, before school.
We have one of the best contractors, bridge builders in the state. Brown Builders is doing
Brown
it, so they do a good job, a very good
Yeah, they
job.
actually built the west side abutment for that bridge in about 2 weeks.
I know, I
So
went out there one
It's
day.
pretty amazing. When they have the time and the weather to work, they're
That's
moving.
great, great.
One last one I'll highlight on the streets is Columbia Avenue and Southeast Parkway. They've started doing a little bit of work out there. We expect delivery of the poles mid-March. So the date I received today from the contractor, they're going to ask for a time extension, and we would probably be willing to grant that, at least preliminarily, because of the delay in ordering the poles. They expect to have everything up in roughly late April.
Because they can't really order the poles until you know where the base and all that's going to be on the intersection. So
That's right.
that's what we should.
if there are any more questions on the
What's
streets.
the Mallory Lane in South Spring?
That one I will probably take off there.
What's going on?
We were actually going to do that last year,
Yeah.
but because of the time crunch between when we actually were able to do the project because of the plans, we weren't going to be able to order the poles and get them in enough time to do it before Christmas. So we used the funding elsewhere to do like the left turn lane extension on Carruthers Parkway out at 96 East.
And we shifted some money to fund the Carruthers Parkway project, the design of that, to utilize these funds, so
We've got
it'll-
some dollars in talk budget to do some intersection and signal improvement type of projects, and that had been one I think we thought
That's correct.
we were gonna do.
but
So
it's
we're
sitting
not
on
gonna
the,
do this one?
probably not this year.
Not
We'd
this
look
year,
at-
but
To look for
Yes.
that in the new budget as a potential project.
That's correct.
And there's some other projects we're looking at
Mhm.
too, that might be interesting.
Interesting.
That's just an update though, right?
Okay, water
Yeah,
management
we'll put it on.
projects.
That one, I'll just
Yeah.
take any questions if you have any questions.
I think we beat all those today.
Okay, no questions. Stormwater projects?
You'll notice I took at least one or two of those projects off the stormwater list. The dam project came off finally. We figure we're done with that, so we'll take that off the list. Still working on a few stream restoration projects in various stages, some in design, some in construction. Let's see, and we've also got an engineer working on the Figures Drive and Battle Avenue drainage study. We're really pushing to get that done.
Okay, good.
Is Jackson Lake gonna be finalized?
Work in progress.
Work in progress.
Still, are we still working on that? Okay.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
All right. Do I have a motion and a second?
We don't want to talk about
Second.
that.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much.